What is going on, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast. And I'm excited every week, but I'm particularly excited this week and this Thursday or Monday, depending on when this episode's released, because I don't really control the schedule. Because I am sitting down and talking with TCU's newest addition, the shiniest new vehicle of the Horned Frogs, two-way star, Payton Tolle. Payton, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for joining. I mean, you're pitching, you're hitting, you're a very busy guy. So getting you on here, it's not easily done, but I'm very glad I could do it. It actually was super easy. Peyton's a phenomenal communicator. So it worked out well. But how have you been doing, man? How's the new digs? You like TCU so far?
Yeah, it's been great. It's been, from the very beginning, all these guys have been super welcoming. Coaches have been super welcoming. So there wasn't a whole lot of friction between anybody whenever you get on campus. Everybody wants you to be here. Everybody wants you to be good. So that's something that, as a new guy coming in, I kind of compared it to my freshman year almost, like going into a new place, not knowing a lot of people, but these guys opened all of the new guys with welcome arms, and they, I mean, it was just right from the get go in the fall, hitting the ground running. So it's been incredible.
No, we love to hear that. I hate when teams waste time on icebreakers. I want to get right into the part where we're all out, hanging out every night, can't get away from each other.
Absolutely.
So it's
Right.
good to see you guys have gotten there that fast. But before you got to TCU, before you got to Wichita State, of course, you had to get recruited. So as a two-way baseball player, what was getting recruited like for you? Like, were there schools that were like, oh, we want you to just pitch, we want you to just hit, or kind of how'd that go?
Yeah, it was my recruiting process in high school was a little different. I would say almost a little slow too, because I think, like you're saying, some of the schools didn't really know what they wanted me as. Like there was some good things hitting, there was some good things pitching, but it's like, which one is he going to choose? Which one is he going to like more? So like being like kind of having slow recruiting, and then Wichita State coming up, and they were kind of from the get go. They were like, "We're going to let you compete both ways, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but you got to at least give it a shot." So I'm super thankful for that they did, and Coach Sirianni and Coach Pelfrey did a great job with that. But yeah, it was weird there for a second because I was thinking like, I really don't want to pick. Like they're gonna have to they're gonna have to tell me what to do. So, but yeah, it was a good recruiting process just because ending up at Wichita State was the best thing for me at that point.
Yeah, and so was it primarily just the fact that they were going to kind of let you go rogue, do either one, or what was it that really drew you to Wichita State?
I'd say it was one of my top schools in the beginning. Like they were up there, they're pretty close to home. And I had always heard about Wichita State. My mom went there, so she always talked about like the golden days of uh, players like Darren Dryford and Gene Stevenson, everything like that. So it's always been up there, and I always thought like this could be just because it's so close. So getting recruited by him, it was pretty like I just started loving the coaches, loving Siri and Pelf, and so it was kind of just meant to be, I guess, in certain ways. But yeah, I mean they just kind of they didn't really like. There was a bunch of trial and error whenever I got
Hmm.
there with what it was going to be like doing two way, but we ended up getting the right formula for it, so it turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I would say it worked out pretty well for you. I watched last season. I would say that was successful, a successful two-way season in my mind. Now, you mentioned your mom talking about the golden days of Wichita State baseball. Was your mom a college baseball fan naturally, or was it something that it's like, oh, Peyton's going to play. Let's get into it.
She grew up around baseball. Her side of the family is couple. Her dad played baseball, and a couple of her cousins played. So she grew up around it. But then at Wichita State in the
Hmm.
'90s, like it was baseball was what you did. So she definitely like she knows baseball, and I love that she knows baseball because I get to talk about it with her as well as my dad. Like we get to talk about it and she knows what's going on. So it's pretty fun whenever she starts yelling at me. You went 1 for 4 today? Like, Mom, it's okay.
It's pretty decent, actually, Mom. Okay. No,
Yeah.
but that's awesome. And, going to Wichita at that time, I feel like it's like being at Alabama when they're playing football. You can't get away from it. And so it
Right.
was really cool seeing you get to contribute to that success for
Mhm.
Wichita down the line. I'm sure it was way cooler for her because, one, personal attachments, but it was
Mhm.
just really insane to watch you go off. I feel like every time I tuned into a game, you were yanking a home run that got out in about 3 seconds, probably went 15 feet high down the right field line. I think my favorite was I can't remember who you were playing against, but you pull a home run, and it might be fair or foul, and the announcer just goes, and this ball's yanked down the line, and it is fair. Because it wasn't a Wichita broadcast, but it
Yeah.
was a really good one. So
Mhm.
that's really cool that she kind of has that fandom as well. Now, if you were forced to choose right now, if you could only pitch better or hit better a little bit, you can still
Ooh.
do them each as well as you're already doing them. Would you rather increase your hitting stats or your pitching stats?
Oh, that that's probably the hardest way that somebody has phrased that question, I think. Um, I don't know. I think that it'd be I mean, it is cool to throw hard, I guess. So maybe something with that, or maybe adding an extra pitch with pitching, but um, maybe add some speed for on the hitting side of things. So, but I mean, I wish that it was like a my player on the show, like
Yeah, just
I
take
don't
a
know.
little bit. Like you're hitting insane one day. It's like, okay, let's take that at three
Yeah,
miles an hour. Where
yeah.
switch
Add,
out the
add,
power cleats for the pitching cleats.
add the wristbands for +5 power.
Like, have
Uh,
you pitched with wristbands? We don't know. We don't know. Maybe that could be the secret. Maybe that's why umpires don't want you doing it because it
that's right.
adds the velo. it
Exactly.
it's not the distraction piece of it. It's this kid can't be throwing 150 miles an hour because he's got 12 sweatbands on.
Exactly. They know too much. So,
Now, getting to Wichita, what was it like adjusting to the college level? Because as you mentioned, there was that trial and error, but I can't imagine. I was just adjusting doing one thing for like
mhm.
30 minutes a day. I cannot imagine adjusting to doing full practice, playing first base, pitching. What's that like for you?
I think, I mean, it was kind of difficult there at the beginning. And I think as I grew older, I figured out like there's power in an off day. Like there's power in resting your body because you need that. But I mean, from the beginning of being in the fall, there was just a lot of conditioning, like not necessarily running, but just preparing yourself for a long season, understanding that like you're not gonna feel great 100% of the time. Like it's gonna be a little like it'll drag maybe, but like you just gotta keep going to the ballpark, keep having fun. But yeah, I mean, being I did football and basketball in high school as well, and I think that also prepared me for that long season going from fall straight into spring. There's really no downtime in high school, and there's really no downtime uh, in college baseball. So, yeah, I mean, I think we did good. Like I said, trial and error with stuff. Like we'd try something for a week or two, and then like, okay, like can't quite do that. Didn't really have the pitching outing or something like that. But other than that, like we just kind of learned every week, every outing, and listen to my body to make sure everything was good.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a tough line to walk too because I didn't realize this when I first got into college baseball, but everybody just hurts all the time. Regardless of how like you could have a golden spike season, you're banged up just from literally sitting on the bus for 4 hours, whatever it is. You're just always your body is always going to hurt a little bit and it's just
Yeah,
seeing okay, is this a lingering pain or is this an injury? So I
exactly.
can't
Yeah.
imagine with the amount of work you were putting in how often that happened. But having that conditioning and having that, football and basketball base seems like it helped out a lot.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I did. I think just being a multi-sport athlete in high school helped me. Like you start working on muscles that are different. You are working on fit footwork in basketball, or just also the other thing is like just being competitive all the time.
Hmm.
I feel like I'm one of the most competitive people I know. It's just having something to compete at year round is it's fun to me. So,
Oh,
um, it, it,
absolutely.
it yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
one thing that also happened your freshman year that I noticed just through stalking you on Instagram, because that's where I do most of my research for these episodes, was from the course of your graduation in high school, because that's when you were in a cap and gown, to your freshman year, start of the season even, you got humongous. Like, you got huge. What did you do? What was the secret there?
I mean, whenever I was up there for that summer, it was
Hmm.
uh, a lot of baseball and then just a lot around sitting, watching movies, and eating. So I gained 20 pounds in that first summer, and then whenever we got into the college weight training, it's like turning that all that food into muscle. So it was, I mean, yeah, it's just a lot of eating.
No, that's a
um,
that's a great method of doing it. Of just like, all right, I'm gonna get dumpy over the summer, and then I'm gonna get jacked. Like I was speaking big. I didn't even realize you got like husky over summer. I was saying
mhm,
like you were bulked up by your freshman season, and
yeah.
like you went from your high school graduation post. Obviously, you're in a cap and gown, but I was like, this guy probably
Mhm.
couldn't wrangle cattle. But freshman year, Payton Tolle, he could wrangle cattle. So it's the eating over summer, eating a lot of food, getting gluttonous
Mm.
over summer, and then just turning it straight into muscle.
I mean, yeah, and I think also too, you can't diss on the steroids and those chicken McNuggets. Like I don't know what they put in those, but I think those help. But no, nothing like that. It's just kind of consistently in the weight room, uh, but yeah, not really being afraid of having an extra slice of pizza.
You can't be. You can't. That's the pitcher in you. That's how I know you're a two-way guy. The pitcher is like, just throw more pizza on it. Now, mentioning McNuggets, if money were not an issue, how many McNuggets you think you could eat in one sitting? Like you're going for a
Ooh,
high count though. Like it's not just like oh, I'm having lunch. I could knock out a quick 40.
yeah. I mean, so one of my greatest accomplishments is a little off topic, but one of my
That's
greatest
totally
accomplishments
fine.
is I ate the 72-ounce steak that they have over in Amarillo, Texas. 72-ounce steak in an hour. And I don't know, that probably rounds out to be 60 or 70 nuggets. So
Okay.
maybe somewhere in there. So
And what you got to think about when transitioning from the steak to the nuggets is how easy it is to chew. Because steak,
right, right.
good steak, it's easy to chew, but also it's 72 ounces. There is no shot every bite of that is a perfect bite. Some of it's got to be a little
Yeah,
chewy. What
yeah.
sauce you going with to take them down?
Um, if we're talking McDonald's, it's probably just that I like their barbecue sauce. Their barbecue. I'm
Mm.
not a ketchup guy. I can't do ketchup, but the barbecue sauce is pretty good. But there's been a lot of times where I'll go and get like a 10-piece McNugget and just eat them dry. And I think
Oh,
that's a little psycho, but that's still a good snack.
the outside's kind of like sandpaper if you're eating them dry. So I already knew coming into this you were going to be a tougher guy than I, but I got to coat those bad boys in honey mustard to get them down. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
that's like, are you trying to get into the salty spittoon right now? Is that what you're going for? How tough are you?
Uh,
But
if they're warm, they're maybe a little bit still greasy. That helps out a little bit,
oh
but
yeah, it doesn't hurt. It does not hurt. And depending on how hungry you are going into it, because there's a
yeah.
lot of anticipation. It's not a whim thing. It's like oh, I'm getting nuggets today. It's planned.
Right, right, right.
Now, one of your greatest games I ever saw you play was when you guys took on Oakland. You had a 10 strikeout performance, only gave up one run, and then went a casual 5 for 5 with a double home run, 6 RBIs. So I got to ask, in that game, what's one thing you wish you could change about that? If there's anything.
maybe the one run,
Okay. Yeah, that's
just
fair.
it'd be a lot cleaner line if the one run wasn't there. But I mean, yeah, it was a fun game, and joking around with the guys after the game. They're like, "Oh, that's really all you had." I was like, oh, "Sorry, guys," but
That's all I could do. All I could do.
but it was like those games were fun, and like I said, it was huge thanks to like Coach Hibbs for following through with the plan of being able to do both in a game, because that was something that I always wanted to do. So
Yeah, absolutely. And in doing that, like, what's your mindset like in the dugout, like between at bats, between innings pitching? Are you like, okay, next inning, I'm facing this guy, and this guy? Or are you just like, you know what, next inning, I'm throwing strikes. This inning, I'm going to hit a home run. And I'm just going to make these guys feel like they got beat by one player today.
yeah, I think that a lot of it is keeping going one inning at a time, like not letting the at bats carry over into pitching or pitching into at bats. I think like that game, you're just focused on what you're doing at that moment. You're not focused. You're not focused on the next at bat or the next following inning. Like you still have to hit. Like you can't worry about the next three batters. You got to focus on your own at bat. So I'd say that's kind of a mindset that I tried to go with throughout most of the year. Is just be where your feet are. Like if you're pitching, like let's lock it down and just trust like catcher Mauricio, trust him, and like we're gonna get this done together. So
No, I love that. And I'm personally a big believer in the more you think in baseball, the worse you do. So I would always have the mindset of being where my feet are, but not thinking about anything half the time because I was a relief
yeah.
pitcher, typically not doing anything during games. So I'm glad to see you preaching that mindset as well because yours has a lot more credibility than mine would have, per se.
Yeah,
Now,
that's
do
funny.
you have a favorite memory at Wichita State? I'm sure that game
Mm.
is up there, so I probably just brought up one of them, but you got another.
That series that we had against ECU was pretty fun. Just big big games and ranked opponent, the most fans that we had at a game that whole year, like great weather, like everything just was picture perfect for a great weekend. And then to do what we did at that point of the year was it was so fun. And the guys were just out. We were just playing baseball. Like there was no pressure on us, or we didn't put any pressure on ourselves really. Um, so I'd say that was something that I'll always remember.
Absolutely, and playing a team like ECU, they're electric. They are, and
Mhm.
they play
Yeah,
with high energy. So anytime you're
yeah,
competing against opponents that want to outcompete you, that's when it's the most fun because it's like, no,
yeah,
I'm going to outcompete you. No, and you
yeah,
just go back and forth. You have that ping pong match.
yeah,
Now, in transferring from Wichita, of course, coaches are leaving. You have an interim coach. A lot of guys make the decision to transfer because, you want to go where you know the coaches and where the coaches are going to be. So you decide to transfer to TCU. What all went into deciding on TCU? What stood out about them?
yeah. I think whenever I was talking to Coach Saarloos over, like, whenever I got into the portal and then up into my visit, like, there was very little talk about baseball. There's always talk about family, there's talk about, what we're doing for the weekend, like, we're just he's just a great guy, like, we just talked like we're 2 buddies, and we'd just been talking on the phone for a week. So like the coaching staff and Coach Delore and Coach Booth are just like that. Like they're just whenever it's not kind of outside of baseball, like we're talking about NFL games, we're talking about college games. So it was a lot of that, like just seeing that they're genuine good guys that
Hmm.
have had a lot of experience in college baseball and a lot of positive experience in college baseball to go into that decision making process. And there's other stuff too, like it's close to home. uh there's obviously a really good school,
Mhm.
And then the baseball players, we get kind of like, it's school, but it's still like it's still part of it, I guess.
Oh, it doesn't
But
hurt.
yeah, those are kind of the biggest things that went into it. Was just I knew that there were going to be great people to surround myself with, and just the mindset about winning here is like I haven't seen this before. So it's definitely like we're gonna win and we're gonna act like winners. So that's something that reached to me.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And from everything I've seen about Coach Saarloos, he seems like a super fun, super authentic dude. So I
Yeah,
think one of my favorite things I saw from TCU this fall was the losers of your little World Series at the end of it had to caddy for
yeah,
the winning team at a local golf place. So
yeah.
did your team win?
My team won. Yes.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
didn't have to caddy. What was that like as a team? Because I cannot imagine a funnier setup. Like even just in itself, like I can't imagine how many jokes were told, how much crap you guys gave each other. But being in that situation, what was it like?
Oh, it was so fun. Like immediately whenever the game ended, people were talking about golfing. Like I went up to Ben Hampton, who ended up caddying for me. I was like, "Hey, I'm working on my 5 iron a little bit. Like we can use that if we need to." But like at the golf course, there's a lot of fun. Like toying with him. Like we got to walk up this huge hill, and I'm like, "Yeah, I added a few rocks and a few extra clubs in my bag, so hopefully you don't fall." But so it was a lot of fun, and the other thing too is like there were former alumni there. So like in our group, like I was playing golf with Luke and Baker. And I'm like, I watched this guy hit Mamo shots at Oklahoma
Oh,
City back in the Big 12 championship was there. Like, this is pretty incredible. But yeah, it was a lot of, you want me to carry that for you? Oh no, you're my caddy. You're my caddy. But
yeah,
yeah,
you got this actually.
but it was a whole lot of fun, and the losers were good sports about it. They were like, yeah, we'll wear the white jumpsuit and wear the caddy hat and everything like that. So it was a lot of fun, and it adds a little extra something to that series. Like it makes you actually like really want to win more
Oh,
than just
absolutely.
right. So it's actually something that's a punishment to it. So it
Yeah,
was a lot of
and
fun.
I feel like that's a phenomenal sign of a great consequence for losing. Is the losing team's like, all right, well, guess we're doing this. Might as well do
Yeah,
it. So I
yeah,
love that attitude, but that just looked like that in my mind. That is the perfect punishment. I know some places they'll be like,
mhm,
okay, we'll get a steak dinner for the winning team. Losing team will
yeah,
get less than steak. But I think golfing is just a hilarious way of doing it. Now,
yeah.
do you do you have a favorite teammate at TCU yet? A favorite new teammate? Because I mean, you probably have met a ton of new guys, but you know, in college baseball, in the world of baseball, the more you play it, the smaller the world gets. So I'm sure
Mhm.
you've crossed paths with these guys before, but I gotta know who's the favorite.
Oh, I mean, I think about 10 names popped up, you know. I got the roommates and which they've been great. Caden Parker's a guy that I know we've gotten closer, and Brody Green, he's another Okie. So we played a couple of times in Oklahoma together. And then kind of with the transfers, like Zach Morris from Arkansas, Ben Hampton from West Virginia. Like I love those guys. They're a lot of fun to be around. And then like Tim Reynolds, he's from Odessa JUCO, and like they're everybody's just so much fun to hang around. So there's multiple like multiple nights a week where like half the team's at my house. I'm like, well, I'm gonna go to bed, but everybody's hanging out, so I won't go to bed yet.
Yeah,
So
and then you get the FOMO, and it's like they're right downstairs, and these are the good old days, right? You know, I gotta enjoy these.
exactly, yeah.
Now, another thing, I thought of this when you brought up Lucan. One of the things that TCU was known for when I was growing up, it was huge. I watched it probably every day, was the grind on YouTube. Do you know that video? Have you heard of it? Is it even on your radar, or am I just super old?
I've heard of it. I've not watched it, but it has
Okay,
been one of
so
those things. alums.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was something that's still around in the program, but look, 2008 eighth grade Steve loved the grind. I was ready. Are you familiar with what it is at least?
Not really, no.
Okay, so it's a motivational film released by TCU Baseball, all about we're a small school from Texas. Not really the case anymore. You guys have grown a lot since then.
Yeah.
But it's like we got the chip on our shoulder. We're going upstream. We aren't taking the easy path. I loved it. It was like a part of my core identity growing up as a baseball player. So it if you ever if you guys are ever in a lull, which I don't expect you to be in, or if you guys are like, you know what, we got 6 a.m. lift, I don't want to do it, fire up the grind, immediately changes the perspective.
I'll have to do it.
It
I'll
was
have to
like,
do it.
because before we lived in this world with Twitter and where it was really easy to share videos, that was like the first viral college baseball video that like everybody knew about. So I've
Yeah.
always loved TCU strictly because they made that video. There's other reasons too now, but that was definitely up there.
That's awesome.
Now, you mentioned, of course, this season you're going to play against, you said 8 different weekends where you play against a former Wichita State Shocker that you play with. I got to know, which one are you most excited to play against? Who are you most excited to see? I feel like
Ooh.
this one's a little bit tougher because it's a little bit more personal.
Yeah. I mean, I think OU has two Wichita State guys now. So like that's
Okay.
kind of you get a double with that. It'll be fun to play against Chuck Ingram, or at Kansas State. Uh, who else? Trying to think. The Robert Kranz, I played summer with him, so he's at Oklahoma State now. So that'll be a fun one.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of fun to do it because it's like there's a good chance that like we're all good players that are going places. It was like there's a good chance that we're gonna play against each other. Like we're gonna be able to compete against each other. So I'm like there's so like you got Jack Little at Baylor. Like he'll probably be playing third for him. It's like oh, it'll be weird. Like I, my problem is gonna be like if I'm facing them on the mound, I'm not gonna be able to stop smiling. Like
Oh, it's the worst. Facing your friends is the worst. There's no way to win in my mind.
yeah, you just like I'll be giggling while I'm pitching. Like I can't do that. So
Like I don't mean to jinx you or anything of that nature, but because I am a goofy guy and I was always a locker room guy. Like I
yeah.
played baseball to make jokes in the locker room. It was my gateway into doing it. So anytime I saw one of my teammates, like it was like, okay, you've probably seen me in the nude doing stupid stuff, so we're probably gonna laugh. I've only struck out one teammate when I faced them. All the other times I ended up walking them. And this is outside of inter squads. Inter squads were fine. I could draw the line,
Yeah.
but like I remember playing in the Cape against some of my buddies, and two of them were hitting back to back. I walked the first one on a 3-2 count, struck out the next one, have no clue how. But but you do a great job because you mentioned you're all good, so you're most likely going to play against each other. You do an even better job of making sure what you're all accessible. You're an equal opportunity opponent where it's like, oh, I'm a hitter and I'm playing against TCU. I used to play at Wichita. Oh, I might face Payton now. Now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, he's on the bump against me. And if I'm like, oh, I'm a pitcher, I'm safe. No, I'm not, because he's going to hit a home run off me. Like, there's no way to escape you. You have become someone who has just torn up college baseball everywhere you've been leading up to TCU. So I'm very excited to watch you this season. Is there a specific horned frog that I should be tuning into that I need to is just can't miss baseball? I know all of them are, but if you had to narrow it down to just a couple, because I know it's hard to just pick one or two.
A couple. I think Chase Brunson. He'll be really exciting to watch. Ryder Robinson. Those are two freshmen. Be really excited to see what they can do. But then you look at Ben Abelt. Like really happy that guy was on my team. Uh, But Ben Abel, Cole Klecker, Carson Bowen, Curtis Byrne, like Anthony Silva. I mean, it's you look at the field and to me, it's like this is a pretty scary lineup and just guys that you don't I don't think a lot of people are going to want to face. So I'm really excited about it. Really excited for the opportunity to play with them.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to face y'all. I got out of the game before everybody started throwing 100 and hitting 30 home runs, so I got out at the right time. But I'm excited to watch y'all play. You guys had a ton of success last season. They added one of my favorite dudes from Wichita State, so, I mean, you do the math. If you're a college baseball fan, TCU is going to be fun to watch this year. But Payton, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to join us here on the Schoch Factor podcast. It's been my pleasure, my honor to meet you.
No, thank you so much. This is really exciting for me. So thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been incredible.